Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining me, hope you're well. I wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up on the video that I did yesterday with regard to the situation locally and taxis. That video, and no word of a lie, it went absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. I think it's approaching something like 50,000 views as we speak. And you can see the video I'm talking about here. Well, it's caused a little bit of chaos. And I wanted to do this follow-up to explain exactly what's going on. You see, I have a Facebook page for my business, the actual airport transfer business I run. And as well as the video I put on the YouTube channel yesterday, I opted to put a post on my page as well, along with a portion of the video that I showed all of you guys. And that was where I gave my speech at the Overview and Scrutiny Committee hearing. Well, that video, I suppose you could classify it as it's going viral. It's got literally thousands of views and people are publishing it and pushing it around all over the place. It really is crazy. The comments are interesting. The comments are very interesting. There's a lot of people that sympathise and agree with the taxi driver side of the coin, you know, what effect this will have on us and in turn members of the general public. And it also is very apparent that there are many people out there that are cheesed off with the current provision that taxis are providing, and quite possibly they don't fully understand how taxis actually operate, the life of a taxi driver, and what effect this will all have. Well, I was contacted by the local newspaper, a lady that runs that, who's the editor, and she's asked me for an up-to-date picture of myself, which I've sent her, in a few words as to how this is going to impact not only my business but all the others. It's particularly the minibuses, which are going to be a big problem, because some of the newer minibuses, particularly on the fares that we charge around this area, it's going to make the whole thing unaffordable. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens, and more importantly, how the council behave. Now, I think one thing that's very important to get everybody to understand is what the life of a taxi driver actually entails. What expense is there and how do you start? And I thought it would be a good idea to try and let you know that, to give you an idea. Now, I've been doing the job 15 years and some things have changed in that 15 years, namely what you have to do to be able to get your badge in the first place, your taxi license. Now, back when I did it, I had to do a knowledge test, which was, at the time, it was a load of multiple choice questions where it would basically give you certain landmarks and ask you where they are. And then there were some questions about what's the quickest route between point A and point B, and you had to get a certain amount of marks to pass. As soon as you did that, you had to do a DBS check, a disclosure and barring service check, and then you had to do a medical. Now, as an existing taxi driver, every 3 years, I have to do a new medical to prove I'm fit to drive and fit to work. And I also have to do a fresh DBS check every 3 years, just to say I'm okay, I'm clean, I'm a good boy, and so on and so on. And that's the way it works. But for new drivers now, I'm led to understand that the knowledge test, which was free when I did it, is no longer free. You have to pay for it. It's a lot harder than it was back then. There are other tests or courses you have to do. I think there's something called an ambassador course, some courses revolving around spotting trouble in your car, like potential people moving around and all that sort of thing. To be quite honest, you get a bit of a sixth sense for it when you do the job, as long as I have. And there's a few other hurdles you have to go over too. And there's a lot of foreign drivers now, and I think because of that, they've introduced some kind of basic competency test for both English and maths, and that's the way of it. So when you pass all that and you get your badge, I have to renew mine every 3 years, and I think that's pretty much the way of it. You then have to obviously get a vehicle. Now, when you get that vehicle, many people come to a bit of a roadblock, because one of the major expenses you have when you first start driving as a cab driver is the insurance. Now, back when I first started, it cost me £3,000 for my first year's insurance. I never forget it, because I had a bit of a heart attack when I saw the quote. But all the no claims and everything else works completely differently as a taxi driver. And all these years later, my insurance is somewhere in the region of £1,000, give or take. It fluctuates a bit depending on you know what's going on with insurance prices at the time. So you've got your insurance, and then you have to go and get your vehicle. Now, because of the high insurance costs, many drivers could not afford a vehicle, first of all. So what they do, they go and rent one. I did. I paid, I think it was 75 or 80 quid a week at the time. And I had a Peugeot 406. That was my first taxi. I had a Citroen Picasso and a couple of other things as well. I think I even drove a Mondeo at one point, all rented. Now, what these rental firms do, they generally buy the cars cheap off of places like the salvage yards or eBay or Gumtree or anything like that. They are older vehicles, so they can buy more of them cheaper. Get them repaired, get them roadworthy, and get them out there and rent them for an amount. But the problem is, you see, a lot of them aren't necessarily serviced as regularly as they should be, and some of the drivers don't look after them as well as they should do. Now, being in a position where I'm an owner of a taxi firm, I maintain a very strict control over that and actually say, you've got to be squeaky clean if you're doing my work. No ifs, no buts, but it does fall by the wayside a little bit with other drivers. And you end up in a situation where you get a load of cars driving around which are probably older than they should be, maybe not looked after as well as they should be, and certainly not as clean as they should be. And the controls aren't really in place. But with the age thing particularly, this is a situation that's been allowed to go on for far too long. And to get this where you're saying, right, within the next 2 years they're all gone and you've got to spend thousands of pounds on whatever, it's no good. So there's your initial expense. When I could, I actually bought a car. I ended up with a Renault Scenic. That's the first cab that I actually owned myself. And then you obviously go on from there. And the way I plan out my cars, roughly every 3 to 5 years, I change it. But not every cab driver, every rank and file cab driver plans like that, is able to do that, and relies very much on this rental market, which, mark my words, will die if these new policies come into place. When you get your car, you need to obviously sort out insurance and everything else. The next port of call is you need a visual inspection, where you put it in front of a council licensing officer, and they will then check it to see, is it visually presentable, clean inside, no dents or scratches or anything like that on the outside. And then what will happen then, they will say yes or go away, get this sorted and come back. Once that's done, you then have to have a council MOT, and you have to have one of those twice a year, as well as your normal standard MOT as well on a car. So all of these things. Once you have your insurance, your MOT and your visual done, you'll then have to apply for a license for your car, which is probably fast approaching 300 quid a year now. It ain't cheap, again. And once you get that, that then has to be renewed every year. So initial startup costs are the costs of the initial knowledge test and everything else. The purchase or rental of a vehicle. the insurance, the cost of the license for the car, the cost of the MOTs, and then obviously on top of that you've got your diesel, you've got your repairs and maintenance and any cleaning and anything else you go by. And in my area, Thanet, we actually have some of the cheapest fares you've ever seen. I remember when Londoners started moving down here years ago, and you tell them what the fare was, they go, what? And they give you a tip just because they felt sorry for you. That situation hasn't really changed. So going forward, when you get a situation where you get these people renting cars to use as taxis and think, yeah, I'm okay, and then all of a sudden they'll be told they're no good, you've got to fork out thousands of pounds to get something that falls in line. It ain't going to happen. Here's a couple of examples here. This is an estate car that I pulled out. It's actually a hybrid because they allow slightly longer on those, 12 years old. And you can see the price of that, well over £20,000. And also, as I mentioned earlier, I drive a Ford Tourneo minibus. This is a Ford Tourneo minibus that would fall in line with the new regulations, and again, well over £20,000. And some of the newer ones are, well, crap. They're not reliable, and certainly they won't take the pounding that they're given as taxes. So in short, this is a complete disaster. There will be a news piece coming out locally, and I'll share that with everybody, and any other updates. But I wanted to give you a little bit more insight and you know, let you know what's going on. So thank you very much. Share this around, do the usuals, and as always, I'll talk to you soon. Toodaloo.